Have you ever looked at a classic car and thought, now that's what the future was supposed to look like? Back in the 1960s, car makers weren't just building automobiles, they were crafting dreams. The world was obsessed with space travel, supersonic jets, and the idea of a futuristic tomorrow. And car companies, they wanted to capture that feeling on four wheels. One name stood out: Oldsmobile. In 1961, they introduced something bold, something they called jet-age luxury. It was a promise that driving this car would feel like soaring through the clouds, wrapped in elegance, power, and innovation. But here's the question: did the 1961 Oldsmobile really deliver, or was it just a clever marketing trick? That's exactly what we're going to uncover in this video, and if you stick around till the end, you'll discover a surprising fact about this car that even many classic car lovers don't know. The 1960s, when cars were more than just transportation. To understand why the 1961 Oldsmobile was such a big deal, we need to step back in time. The late 1950s and early 1960s weren't just about cars, they were about a cultural shift, an era of optimism, innovation, and rapid progress. Everything was changing. The first human spaceflight was just around the corner. Televisions were becoming mainstream, and highways were stretching further than ever before. And cars? They weren't just machines to get you from point A to point B. They were statements of success, progress, and, most importantly, the future. Bigger engines, sleeker bodies, and chrome-laden designs made every new model look like it was straight out of a science fiction movie. For Oldsmobile, this was the perfect moment. The brand had a reputation for blending performance with prestige. It wasn't quite Cadillac-level luxury, but it wasn't your everyday Chevrolet either. It sat in that sweet spot, offering power, comfort, and a touch of exclusivity. And in 1961, they decided to push the envelope even further. What did jet-age luxury even mean? If you were shopping for a car in 1961 and heard the phrase jet-age luxury, what would you expect? Something sleek, something powerful, something that made you feel like you were sitting in the cockpit of a high-speed jet. And that's exactly what Oldsmobile wanted buyers to believe. The marketing was bold and futuristic. Ads showcased the car's streamlined design, whisper quiet ride, and innovative features. The promise? A driving experience that felt as smooth as flying. And people bought into it. Because back then, the jet age wasn't just a phrase, it was a mindset. Air travel was still a luxury reserved for the elite. The idea of flying at supersonic speeds, crossing the Atlantic in just hours, and experiencing effortless comfort at 300 feet was something most people only dreamed of. Oldsmobile tapped into that fantasy. They weren't just selling a car, they were selling an experience, one that made the average driver feel like a pilot commanding a high-tech machine. But here's the thing about marketing. It's easy to make promises. But delivering on them, that's another story. The shift in car design, goodbye to the 50, hello to the future. By 1961, the extravagant designs of the 1950s were starting to fade. The massive tail fins, over-the-top chrome, and exaggerated curves that had defined the previous decade were seen as too flashy, too impractical. The world was moving toward a cleaner, more modern aesthetic. Oldsmobile embraced this shift. The 1961 model was sleeker, lower, and more refined. The designers wanted a car that looked futuristic, not excessive. They introduced a floating roof design, a sleeker grille, and an overall more sophisticated look. The tail fins, shrinking. The chrome, more controlled. The car still had presence, but it wasn't screaming for attention like its 1950s predecessors. The message was clear. This was the car of the future, not just another over-the-top cruiser. The big question, did it live up to the hype? This is where things get interesting. Oldsmobile made big promises, but how well did the 1961 model actually deliver? Was it really smooth like a jet, or just another V8-powered sedan? Did the luxury features truly set it apart from the competition? And most importantly, was this a car that left a lasting mark on history, or was it just another model lost in time? That's exactly what we're about to explore. In the next sections, we'll dive into the design, the power under the hood, the driving experience, and the technology that made this car special. Or maybe Not so special. So if you're a fan of classic cars, if you love the golden era of American automobiles, or if you just appreciate the artistry of an era when cars were built to excite the soul, stay with us, because what we uncover next might just change the way you look at the 1961 Oldsmobile forever. For Oldsmobile, 1961 wasn't just another model year. It was a statement. A new decade had arrived and the company had to prove that it wasn't just keeping up with the times but leading the way. The car industry was evolving and so were consumer expectations. Buyers wanted power, style, and modern technology, but they also wanted something different, something that made them feel like they were stepping into the future. Oldsmobile had built its reputation on blending performance with sophistication. It wasn't quite in the same league as Cadillac, but it certainly wasn't a budget brand either. It sat right in the middle, a car for professionals, executives, and anyone who wanted something a little more refined, a little more advanced. The 1961 model was their chance to reinforce that image. They weren't just refreshing an old design, they were introducing a whole new generation of Oldsmobiles. The goal? Make a car that looked and felt modern while keeping the power and comfort that Oldsmobile was known for. A radically different look. One of the first things that set the 1961 Oldsmobile apart was its completely redesigned body. The era of exaggerated tail fins and flashy chrome was ending, and automakers were embracing a cleaner, more refined look. The car was narrower, sleeker, and more aerodynamic than its 1960 predecessor. The massive fins that had once defined American cars were scaled down, replaced by a more streamlined rear design. Instead of looking like a spaceship on wheels, the new Oldsmobile looked precise, elegant, and well-balanced. A standout feature was its floating roof effect, a design trick that gave the illusion that the roof was almost suspended above the body. This wasn't just for looks. It gave the car a lighter, more modern appearance, making it feel more advanced than its competitors. The front grille also saw a dramatic change. Oldsmobile introduced a split horizontal grille that gave the car a wider stance and a more futuristic feel. The headlights were integrated more smoothly into the design, giving the front end a cleaner, more sophisticated look. The result was a car that still had presence and personality but without the exaggerated flash of the previous decade. It wasn't just a cosmetic change, it was a reflection of where the industry was heading. A new platform, a new driving experience. The 1961 Oldsmobile wasn't just about looks. It also introduced a new platform that changed how the car handled on the road. Oldsmobile engineers redesigned the frame, making it lighter and more rigid, which improved both performance and efficiency. This was a significant shift. Throughout the 1950s, cars had become bigger, heavier, and more powerful. But by the early 60s, manufacturers realized they needed to strike a better balance between power and handling. The 1961 model introduced a new suspension system that aimed to deliver a smoother, more controlled ride. Oldsmobile had long been praised for its glide-like driving experience, and this new platform took that even further. The goal was simple. Make the car feel like it was floating on the road, effortlessly absorbing bumps and delivering a quiet, comfortable ride. To complement the new frame, Oldsmobile also refined its Hydra-matic automatic transmission. Automatic transmissions had become hugely popular in the 1950s, but early versions were often jerky and slow to respond. The 1961 Oldsmobile aimed to fix that with smoother shifts and better responsiveness, making the driving experience feel more refined and effortless. For buyers, this wasn't just a mechanical improvement, it was part of the promise of jet-age luxury. A car that looked futuristic should also drive effortlessly, and Oldsmobile wanted to deliver on that expectation. The engine that powered the dream, of course, no Oldsmobile would be complete without a powerful engine. In 1961, they introduced the Skyrocket V8 Ida name that fit perfectly with the jet age theme. The standard version of this engine was a 394 cubic inch, 6.5L V8, producing 325 horsepower. For those who wanted even more power, Oldsmobile offered a performance variant that pushed up to 350 horsepower. Serious numbers for the time. This wasn't just about raw power, it was about delivering smooth, effortless acceleration. Oldsmobile had always positioned itself as a powerful but refined brand, and the Skyrocket V8 was designed to reflect that. It wasn't as aggressive as some of the muscle cars that would come later in the decade, but it had enough power to make highway driving feel effortless and enough torque to remind drivers that they were behind the wheel of something serious. One of the biggest selling points was the quietness of the engine. Oldsmobile engineers worked hard to reduce noise and vibrations, making the car feel more luxurious and more in line with the jet age promise. The combination of power, smoothness, and refined handling made the 1961 Oldsmobile feel modern, advanced, and ahead of its time. An ambitious step forward, the 1961 Oldsmobile was more than just a new model. It was a shift in philosophy. The company had to prove that it could adapt to a changing market while still delivering on its core promise of power and comfort. The redesign was bold, the engineering was advanced, and the marketing was ambitious. But did all of these changes truly make the 1961 Oldsmobile the jet-age luxury car it claimed to be? A sleek design and a powerful engine were only part of the equation. The real test would come down to how it felt on the road, how well it lived up to its promises, and whether buyers truly saw it as a car of the future or just another step in Oldsmobile's long history. A car isn't just about how it looks or how fast it goes. It's about how it feels when you're sitting inside, gripping the wheel and watching the road ahead. For a vehicle that promised jet-age luxury, the interior of the 1961 Oldsmobile had to be more than just seats and a dashboard. It had to feel modern, refined, and futuristic, a place where a driver felt in control, comfortable, and maybe even a little spoiled. Stepping into the cabin, the first thing that greeted drivers was space, a sense of openness that was intentional. The designers wanted to make sure that even though the exterior had become sleeker and more refined, the interior still felt big, comfortable, and airy. The seating was a major highlight. Oldsmobile was known for its plush, deeply cushioned seats, and the 1961 model continued that tradition. Whether you were in the front or the back, the seats felt like lounging in a first-class airline cabin. Soft upholstery, thick padding, and a design that cradled the body made long drives feel effortless. This wasn't just a car, it was a rolling lounge. For buyers in the early 1960s, this level of comfort mattered. Most American roads weren't as smooth as they are today, and long drives were common. A stiff, uncomfortable seat could make a road trip miserable. Oldsmobile understood that, and they made sure that whether you were cruising at highway speeds or stuck in city traffic, you felt like you were sitting on a cloud. The dashboard of the command center of the future, just like the exterior, the dashboard of the 1961 Oldsmobile was a reflection of the jet age. Every dial, button, and switch was designed to make the driver feel like they were at the controls of something special. It wasn't just a dashboard, it was a cockpit. The speedometer and fuel gauges were set in a wide, easy-to-read instrument panel. Unlike earlier models which had cluttered, boxy designs, this one was smooth and streamlined, with just the right amount of chrome trim to make it feel premium. But the real highlight? The futuristic push-button controls. Oldsmobile engineers knew that the world was fascinated by technology and automation. Aeroplanes had control panels full of switches and buttons, and that inspired car designers. The 1961 Oldsmobile featured a unique set of push-button controls for functions like the radio, ventilation, and even transmission selection in certain models. For drivers in the early 60s, this wasn't just about convenience. It was about feeling like you were operating something advanced, something futuristic. It was a small detail, but it reinforced the idea that Oldsmobile was more than just a car. It was an experience. Luxury at your fingertips. Oldsmobile didn't stop at design. They packed the 1961 model with features that were cutting edge for the time. Power steering and power brakes were becoming more common, but Oldsmobile made sure their versions felt smoother and more refined than the competition. One of the standout features was the Autronic Eye, a futuristic-sounding device that automatically dimmed the high beams when it detected oncoming traffic. In an era when most drivers had to manually switch between low and high beams, this was a game-changer. It made nighttime driving safer, easier, and more comfortable, all things that fit perfectly with the promise of jet-age luxury. The heating and ventilation system was another major selling point. Instead of a basic system that just blew hot or cold air, Oldsmobile offered a multi-speed, fully adjustable climate control system. For drivers who spent hours behind the wheel, this wasn't just a luxury. it was a necessity. A car that sounded as good as it looked music had become an essential part of driving, and Oldsmobile made sure that their customers got the best sound experience possible. The 1961 model featured an AM radio with improved speaker placement, ensuring that sound filled the cabin evenly. For those willing to spend a little extra, Oldsmobile even offered a reverb unit, which created an effect that made music feel richer and more immersive. It was a small touch, but for music lovers, it made all the difference. It's easy to forget just how important a good sound system was in the early 1960s. There were no Bluetooth speakers, no streaming services, just AM radio and maybe a few local stations. If you wanted to enjoy your drive, a high-quality radio was essential. Attention to detail. Where Oldsmobile excelled, luxury isn't just about big features, it's about the small things, the details that make the difference between a good car and a great one. Oldsmobile paid attention to these details. The doors closed with a satisfying, solid thud. The interior trim pieces were precisely fitted with no rough edges or cheap materials. The windows rolled up and down smoothly, and the carpeting was thick and plush. Even the glove compartment was designed with care, large enough to be practical, but finished in a way that made it feel like part of the overall design, not an afterthought. For buyers who spent their hard-earned money on a premium car, these small details mattered. They reinforced the feeling that you were driving something special. A cabin that lived up to the hype. Oldsmobile had promised jet-age luxury, and in many ways they delivered. The spacious interior, plush seats, futuristic dashboard, and thoughtful details all combined to create an environment that truly felt advanced for its time. Sitting inside a 1961 Oldsmobile wasn't just about getting from one place to another. It was about experiencing a new era of driving. The world was changing. Space exploration, new technologies, and modern conveniences were shaping everyday life. The 1961 Oldsmobile was designed to fit into that world, a car that felt like it belonged to the future even as it rolled down the roads of the present. But a luxurious interior is only half the equation. A car could be comfortable, stylish, and filled with high-tech features, but how did it actually perform when the rubber met the road? A car can have the most luxurious interior in the world, but at the end of the day, it's all about the drive. How did the 1961 Oldsmobile perform when you turned the key, pressed the accelerator, and hit the open road? Did it glide effortlessly like a true luxury machine, or was it just another flashy cruiser with no real substance? Power, smoothness, and reliability were the three pillars that Oldsmobile engineers focused on when they built this machine. They weren't just designing a car for Sunday drives. They were building something that could handle long road trips, daily commutes, and everything in between. The heart of the machine, Oldsmobile's legendary Rocket V8. Under the hood, the 1961 Oldsmobile carried something special, the Rocket V8 engine. This wasn't just a name, it was a legacy. Since the late 1940s, Oldsmobile had been one of the pioneers of the V8 revolution. And by 1961, they had perfected it. The standard engine was a 394 cubic inch 6.5L Rocket V8, which produced up to 325 horsepower in its higher performance versions. That was serious power for the time, enough to launch this car down the highway with confidence. What made the Rocket V8 so respected wasn't just its horsepower, it was the way it delivered power. The engine was designed for smooth acceleration, effortless cruising, and rock-solid reliability. It didn't scream or struggle when you pressed the gas pedal. Instead, it responded with a deep, refined growl and a steady surge of torque that pushed you back into your plush leather seat. For older car enthusiasts, this kind of performance meant more than just speed. It was about confidence on the road. Whether you were merging onto a fast-moving highway, climbing a steep hill, or passing a slower vehicle, you needed an engine that responded without hesitation. The Rocket V8 did just that. The transmission, effortless power delivery. A great engine needs a great transmission to match, and Oldsmobile made sure that the driving experience was as smooth as silk. The 1961 models were offered with either a 3-speed manual transmission or the more popular Hydra-matic automatic transmission. For most buyers, the Hydra-matic was the obvious choice. At a time when more Americans were switching to automatics, Oldsmobile's system was one of the best in the industry. Shifts were smooth, almost seamless, with no sudden jerks or hesitation. Whether you were in city traffic or cruising on the highway, the Hydra-Matic made driving feel effortless. This was an era when comfort mattered just as much as performance, and Oldsmobile understood that perfectly. The combination of the Rocket V8 and Hydra-Matic transmission created a driving experience that felt refined, easy, and almost effortless. Ride and handling. The floating feeling luxury cars of the early 1960s were known for their soft, comfortable rides, and the 1961 Oldsmobile was no exception. The suspension system was designed to soak up bumps, smooth out rough roads, and make every drive feel like a first-class experience. The engineers at Oldsmobile focused on three key elements to achieve this: independent front suspension. This provided a balanced, stable ride even on uneven roads. Unlike older cars that felt stiff or bouncy, the 1961 Oldsmobile stayed composed, keeping the driver and passengers comfortable at all times. Coil springs at all four wheels. Many cars of this era still used leaf springs in the rear, but Oldsmobile opted for a full coil spring setup. This meant a smoother, more refined ride, especially on long highway journeys. A stiff but well-damped chassis, the body structure was built to reduce vibrations and road noise, creating a feeling of quiet luxury inside the cabin. Driving a 1961 Oldsmobile wasn't about aggressive cornering or high-speed maneuvers. It was about gliding down the road with a sense of ease and control. The steering was light but precise, making the car feel easy to maneuver despite its size. For drivers of the time, especially those who appreciated a smooth, refined ride over raw performance, this was exactly what they wanted. Braking. A step forward in safety. A car with a powerful engine and smooth ride is only as good as its ability to stop safely. In the early 1960s, brakes were still evolving, and Oldsmobile took safety seriously. The 1961 model featured large finned drum brakes on all four wheels, designed to provide strong, fade-resistant stopping power. While disc brakes hadn't yet become common on American cars, Oldsmobile engineers worked to make sure their drum brake system was as advanced as possible. Power brakes were available as an option, making it easier for drivers to stop the car without excessive pedal effort. For those used to older cars with heavy unassisted brakes, this was a major improvement. Fuel economy, a consideration but not a priority. Let's be honest, nobody bought a 1961 Oldsmobile for fuel efficiency. The Rocket V8 was built for power, smoothness, and reliability, not for sipping fuel. That being said, for a big V8 luxury car, the Oldsmobile wasn't as thirsty as some of its competitors. Under normal driving conditions, owners could expect around 12 to 15 miles per gallon, depending on how they drove. In an era when gasoline was cheap and performance mattered more than efficiency, this wasn't a deal-breaker. If you were buying a jet-age luxury car, you weren't counting every drop of fuel. You were enjoying the ride. The verdict: did it deliver? On the road? When it came to performance, the 1961 Oldsmobile absolutely delivered. The combination of the Rocket V8, smooth automatic transmission, soft suspension, and comfortable ride made it one of the best driving luxury cars of its time. It wasn't built for racing. It wasn't made to carve corners like a European sports car. It was designed to give drivers an experience. A feeling of effortless power, comfort, and control. Whether you were a businessman commuting to the city, a family heading out on a road trip, or an enthusiast who simply loved a well-built American car, the 1961 Oldsmobile gave you exactly what you wanted. It was jet-age luxury in motion. Step back in time to 1961, and America was obsessed with progress, speed, and the future. Jet planes roared across the sky, rockets launched towards space, and cars, well, they had to look just as futuristic. This was the era when automobile design wasn't just about getting from point A to point B, it was about making a statement. And the 1961 Oldsmobile made a statement loud and clear. Sleek, bold, and undeniably elegant, it was a machine that embodied the spirit of the jet age. But was it all about flash? Or did the design serve a deeper purpose? The exterior, streamlined yet commanding. One look at the 1961 Oldsmobile and you could see a dramatic shift in styling philosophy compared to the previous decade. Gone were the exaggerated tail fins and overly flashy chrome details of the late 50s. Instead, Oldsmobile embraced a more refined, aerodynamic look, one that signaled luxury but in a more sophisticated way. The front end was defined by a wide, imposing grille, stretching nearly the full width of the car. Unlike the massive, towering grilles of the 50S, this one was more streamlined, more refined, but still unmistakably American. Twin headlamps sat within the design, giving the car a serious yet inviting expression, as if it were always ready for the next long highway journey. Moving along the sides, the body lines were sleek and uninterrupted, reinforcing the idea of motion, even when the car was parked. A subtle character line ran from the front fender to the rear, giving just the right amount of sculpted definition without overwhelming the design. And then there was the roofline, especially on the hardtop models. With no thick pillars to break the flow, the car had a true open-air look, as if the entire cabin was seamlessly integrated into the overall shape. The glass area was generous, offering excellent visibility and making the interior feel even more spacious. At the back, Oldsmobile designers resisted the urge to cling to the extravagant tail fins of the 1950 SS. Instead, they opted for a cleaner, more modern rear-end treatment. Horizontal taillights, neatly integrated trim, and a low, wide stance made the car look planted and confident. This was jet-age luxury in its purest form. A car that looked futuristic, yet mature. Chrome and trim. The art of restraint, luxury cars of the early 60s still used chrome, but the 1961 Oldsmobile didn't drown in it. Instead of overwhelming the design, the chrome trim was strategically placed to highlight the car's best features. The bumpers were strong but not oversized, adding presence without excess weight. A tasteful strip of chrome ran along the lower body, adding a sense of length and elegance. Around the windows, thin chrome borders emphasized the sleek hardtop styling, making the roof look almost like it was floating above the car. This wasn't just decoration, it was design with intention. The balance between metal, glass, and paint was perfectly calculated to give the car a commanding presence without looking gaudy or overdone. Wheel design, the finishing touch. Even the wheels played a role in the 1961 Oldsmobile's overall aesthetic. White wall tires were still in fashion, and when paired with the factory wheel covers, they completed the car's elegant, upscale look. The hubcaps themselves were simple but stylish, often featuring Oldsmobile's iconic rocket emblem, a reminder of the brand's forward-thinking identity. Unlike modern alloy wheels, which often have intricate designs, these classic wheel covers were about clean lines and symmetry, perfectly fitting the car's jet-age theme. Color choices, a palette of prestige. Oldsmobile knew that styling wasn't just about shape, it was also about color. In 1961, buyers had a wide selection of factory colors, each carefully chosen to enhance the car's visual appeal. Deep, rich shades like twilight mist, chariot red, and garnet mist gave the car a bold, sophisticated presence. Meanwhile, lighter hues like alabaster, Sheffield gray, and provincial white emphasized its elegant, effortless beauty. Metallic finishes were particularly popular, adding a layer of depth and shimmer that changed under different lighting conditions. Under the bright sun, these colors looked alive and dynamic, shifting subtly as you moved around the car. Aerodynamics more than just looks while style was a major focus. Function wasn't ignored. The sleeker, more refined design of the 1961 Oldsmobile wasn't just for show, it actually improved the car's aerodynamics. The smooth body lines reduced wind resistance, making highway cruising quieter and more efficient. The lower stance and improved airflow meant better stability at high speeds, making long road trips more comfortable. Even details like the angle of the windshield were carefully considered. By raking it back slightly more than before, Oldsmobile reduced wind noise and gave drivers a clearer, less obstructed view of the road ahead. A design that stood the test of time. Looking at the 1961 Oldsmobile today, it's clear that this wasn't just another car from the early 60s. It was a statement, a carefully crafted balance of elegance, innovation, and forward-thinking design. Unlike some of its flashier, more exaggerated competitors, the 1961 Oldsmobile aged gracefully. It didn't rely on gimmicks or over-the-top styling trends that would look outdated just a few years later. Instead, it embraced a timeless, understated luxury that still turns heads even today. This was a car that made you feel like you were part of something bigger, part of an era when automobiles weren't just transportation, they were symbols of progress, confidence, and the excitement of the future. And for those who had the privilege of owning one, every drive felt like a journey into tomorrow. Step inside the 1961 Oldsmobile and you weren't just getting into a car. You were entering a space designed to impress, to comfort, and to elevate the driving experience. This was an era when car interiors weren't dictated by touchscreens and plastic panels. Instead, it was about craftsmanship, thoughtful design, and an unmistakable sense of luxury. For many, opening the door of a 1961 Oldsmobile was like stepping into the lounge of a high-end hotel. Plush seats, elegant trim, and an undeniable presence of quality greeted you the moment you settled inside. But was it all just about looks, or did the Oldsmobile truly deliver on comfort and innovation? Seating, the first thing you'd notice upon sitting inside was the sheer comfort of the seats. These weren't just basic cushions covered in vinyl. No, Oldsmobile took seating seriously. The standard bench seats were wide, well-padded, and wrapped in high-quality fabrics or premium leather, depending on the trim level. For those who opted for the Super 88 or the top-tier 98 series, the seating experience was elevated even further. These models offered deep-cushioned, contoured seats that provided support for long-distance travel. The padding was thick, the materials were soft, and the craftsmanship was evident in every stitch. And then there was the legroom. The 1961 Oldsmobile was built with spaciousness in mind, making it a dream for passengers. Long road trips became more enjoyable, as every occupant had ample room to stretch out. Dashboard. A command center with a touch of class. At a time when American cars were embracing the jet age theme, Oldsmobile didn't hold back when designing its dashboard. The layout was both futuristic and highly functional, striking a balance between luxury and practicality. The instrument panel featured a symmetrical design, wrapping around the driver like the cockpit of an airplane. Large circular gauges were neatly arranged behind the steering wheel, giving the driver clear visibility of the speedometer, fuel gauge, and other vital information. One of the most striking elements was the floating gauge cluster, which seemed to hover within a sculpted aluminum panel. This wasn't just a styling gimmick, it made the dials easier to read, even in bright sunlight. Oldsmobile also incorporated a vertical speedometer in some models, a unique design that added to the car's futuristic charm. Instead of a needle sweeping across a dial, numbers rolled downward as speed increased, mimicking the readout of an aircraft altimeter. And then there were the switches and knobs, each one metallic, precisely machined, and built to last. Unlike today's plastic controls, these felt solid under your fingertips, reinforcing the idea that this was a car designed for those who appreciated quality. Steering wheel, elegance at your fingertips. A car's steering wheel is more than just a tool. It's the driver's connection to the machine. Oldsmobile understood this and crafted a wheel that was both stylish and comfortable to hold. The thin-rimmed two-spoke design gave the interior an open, airy feel while maintaining a sense of classic elegance. The horn ring, a signature feature of the era, was beautifully integrated, allowing for effortless access without taking your hands off the wheel. And of course, there was the Oldsmobile logo, proudly displayed at the center, a reminder of the brand's commitment to excellence. Materials. A touch of sophistication. Every surface inside the 1961 Oldsmobile was carefully selected to create an atmosphere of refinement. The door panels were adorned with chrome accents and rich textures, complementing the exterior's understated luxury. The carpeting was thick and durable, offering a level of insulation that reduced road noise. Unlike modern synthetic materials, the interior featured real wood grain trims, polished metal details, and soft-touch fabrics, all combining to make the cabin feel warm and inviting. This wasn't a car that just looked luxurious, it felt luxurious. Technological features, ahead of its time. While today's luxury cars boast digital displays and voice-activated controls, the 1961 Oldsmobile had its own way of offering cutting-edge technology for its era. One of the standout features was the Autronic Eye, an automatic headlamp dimmer that adjusted the brightness of the headlights based on oncoming traffic. In an age where most cars still relied on manual adjustments, this was a significant innovation, providing both convenience and safety. The Wonder Bar radio was another technological marvel. Unlike standard radios which required constant tuning, this system automatically sought out the strongest AM stations. ensuring that drivers always had access to music or news without distractions. For those who wanted an even more premium experience, Oldsmobile offered factory-installed air conditioning, a luxury feature that transformed long summer drives into cool, comfortable journeys. And let's not forget about power-operated accessories. Electric window controls, 6-way power seats, and even a power antenna were available, proving that Oldsmobile was dedicated to making life easier for its drivers. Sound insulation, a whisper-quiet ride. One of the most impressive aspects of the 1961 Oldsmobile was how quiet the cabin was. Engineers took extra steps to ensure that wind, road, and engine noise were kept to a minimum. Special insulation was added to the doors, roof, and floor, creating an environment where conversations could be had in a normal tone, even at highway speeds. This level of refinement wasn't just for show. It was about creating an experience, one where passengers could relax, enjoy the ride, and truly feel like they were traveling in first-class comfort. The Oldsmobile experience, more than just transportation. Owning a 1961 Oldsmobile wasn't just about getting from place to place, it was about making a statement, experiencing true craftsmanship, and enjoying a level of comfort that many cars today still struggle to match. It was a car built for those who appreciated the finer things in life. A rolling testament to an era when luxury meant more than just status. Luxury wasn't just about soft seats and chrome accents, it was about power, real power. Because in the early 1960s, owning a car wasn't just about transportation, it was about performance, control, and the unmistakable feeling of a powerful engine responding to your command. When you turned the key in a 1961 Oldsmobile, you weren't just starting a car. You were awakening a machine built for effortless motion. The engineers at Oldsmobile understood that a car's true character was found under the hood, and in this case they made sure that power was never in short supply. The Rocket V8, a legacy of performance at the heart of the 1961 Oldsmobile lineup, was the legendary Rocket V8 engine. By this time, Oldsmobile had already established itself as a pioneer in V8 technology, and the 61 models carried that reputation forward. The base engine was a 394 cubic inch, 6.5-liter Rocket V8, producing an impressive 250 to 325 horsepower, depending on the trim level and carburetor setup. This wasn't just a number, it was the difference between a car that moved and a car that commanded the road. For those who wanted something more, Oldsmobile offered a Starfire performance package, pushing the power even further. With a 4-barrel carburetor and higher compression ratios, the top-tier Rocket V8 delivered 325 horsepower and 435 lp-f to torque, numbers that could rival even some of today's performance sedans. That kind of power translated to a smooth, effortless driving experience. Whether you were cruising down a highway or pulling away from a stoplight, the Rocket V8 delivered instant response with a deep, throaty growl that let everyone know you were driving something special. Transmission. Smoothness meets strength. A powerful engine is only as good as the transmission that delivers its force to the road. Oldsmobile knew this, which is why they equipped the 61 models with one of the most advanced automatic transmissions of the time, the Hydromatic drive. Unlike older automatics that struggled with rough shifts, the Hydromatic was designed for silky smooth acceleration. It made driving effortless, allowing the driver to focus on the road rather than worrying about gear changes. But for those who still wanted a bit more engagement, Oldsmobile also offered a manual This wasn't just for economy, it was for the driver who wanted to feel every shift, to be connected to the power in a way that automatics couldn't replicate. Acceleration. A silent challenger on the road, despite being a luxury car, the 1961 Oldsmobile wasn't afraid of a little competition. Tests at the time showed that a properly tuned Rocket V8 could go from 0 to 60 mph in under 9 seconds, a remarkable feat for a vehicle that weighed over 4,000 pounds. And it wasn't just about speed. It was about how effortlessly it delivered that speed. No hesitation, no struggle, just pure, refined power. This made highway merging and passing an absolute breeze. Unlike smaller, underpowered cars of the era that had to plan their moves carefully, the Oldsmobile gave its driver the confidence to command the road without second-guessing. Ride and handling, more than just straight-line speed power, is only enjoyable when it's balanced with control. And Oldsmobile engineers didn't just build a fast car. They built a car that handled its power with grace. The 1961 models featured an advanced independent front suspension designed to absorb road imperfections while keeping the car stable at high speeds. Unlike some luxury cars that felt disconnected from the road, the Oldsmobile gave its driver a sense of control without sacrificing comfort. At the rear, a heavy-duty coil spring suspension system kept the car planted, reducing body roll in turns. While it wasn't a sports car, it had a level of stability and precision that made long highway drives an absolute pleasure. The steering was light yet responsive, thanks to Oldsmobile's refined power steering system. This wasn't the vague, over-assisted steering that plagued some American cars of the time. It had a well-balanced feel, light enough for easy maneuvering, but firm enough to provide feedback braking, bringing power to a halt. With great power comes the need for great stopping force, and while disc brakes were still a few years away from being standard, Oldsmobile ensured that the 61 models had one of the most reliable braking systems of the era. The car was equipped with large drum brakes on all four wheels, engineered for maximum stopping power. The secret wasn't just the size of the brakes, but the way they were designed. Finned brake drums helped dissipate heat, preventing fade on long downhill drives. For added safety, Oldsmobile offered a power brake option, making it easier for drivers to bring this large machine to a halt with minimal effort. Fuel efficiency. A surprising bonus. For a car with this much power, you'd expect it to guzzle fuel like there was no tomorrow. But the Rocket V8 had a secret. It was more efficient than many people realized. The high-compression engine design meant that it burned fuel more effectively, delivering respectable mileage for a luxury V8 of its time. While it wasn't an economy car, drivers could expect to see around 12 to 16 miles per gallon under normal driving conditions. Impressive for a car of this size and power. The emotional connection, driving more than just a machine, but numbers only tell part of the story. Because driving a 1961 Oldsmobile wasn't just about horsepower and torque figures, it was about how it made you feel. When you pressed the accelerator, you didn't just hear an engine, you felt a surge of power, a deep resonance that traveled through the car, letting you know that you were in control of something truly special. When you eased onto the highway, the effortless surge of torque made the world feel smaller, the road more inviting. And when you reached your destination, stepping out of the car always came with a sense of pride, knowing you had just experienced one of the finest examples of American engineering. This wasn't just a car, it was a statement. A machine that blended power, sophistication, and a driving experience that modern vehicles still struggle to replicate. Step inside the 1961 Oldsmobile and you're not just entering a car, you're stepping into a world of elegance, comfort, and thoughtful craftsmanship. The exterior may have been bold, but the interior was where Oldsmobile truly proved why it was considered a leader in luxury. Because in the jet age, luxury wasn't just about looking good, it was about feeling good behind the wheel. The moment you settled into the driver's seat, you were surrounded by an environment designed for absolute ease and pleasure. Seating. Plush comfort for long drives. Let's start with the seats. In an era when most cars offered simple, flat bench seats, Oldsmobile went a step further. The 1961 models featured deep cushion, contoured seating designed to cradle the body. The seats weren't just wide and spacious. They were engineered to provide long-distance comfort, making every drive feel like a first-class experience. The upholstery choices reflected the car's luxurious nature. Depending on the trim level, buyers could choose from rich cloth, premium vinyl, or even genuine leather. The fabrics were soft to the touch, yet durable enough to withstand years of use without losing their elegance. For those who truly wanted the ultimate in luxury, Oldsmobile offered power juggle seats, a rare feature at the time. With the push of a button, drivers could fine-tune their seating position for maximum comfort. It was a small detail, but one that made a big difference on long road trips. Dashboard, a masterpiece of design and functionality. Gazing at the dashboard of a 1961 Oldsmobile was like looking at the cockpit of a private jet. It was sleek, symmetrical, and packed with cutting-edge features for its time. The layout was intuitive and driver-focused. Every gauge, button, and switch was positioned for easy access and readability. The large speedometer stretched across the center, giving a clear and bold display of speed. The fuel, temperature, and battery gauges were neatly arranged, ensuring the driver always had important information at a glance. One of the standout features was the automatic headlight dimmer, an innovative technology that could detect oncoming cars at night and automatically switch between high and low beams. This wasn't just a convenience, it was a safety feature ahead of its time. Steering wheel, a touch of elegance and control. A car's steering wheel is one of the most important points of connection between driver and machine, and Oldsmobile didn't overlook this detail. The 1961 models featured a large, two-spoke steering wheel with a polished chrome horn ring, designed for both aesthetics and practicality. But it wasn't just about looks. The steering wheel had a power-assisted mechanism, making it incredibly easy to turn even at low speeds. Parking and maneuvering in tight spaces became effortless, a major advantage for a car of this size. Climate control, luxury that adjusted to the weather. Driving in comfort isn't just about the seats, it's about having the right temperature inside the cabin. And in the 1961 Oldsmobile, climate control was a priority. For those in colder regions, Oldsmobile equipped the car with a powerful heating system that could quickly warm the cabin even on the frostiest mornings. The heat was distributed evenly, ensuring that both front and rear passengers stayed comfortable. But the real game changer was factory-installed air conditioning, a luxury feature that was still uncommon in many cars of the time. Unlike older systems that were bulky and inefficient, Oldsmobile's air conditioning was compact, effective, and integrated seamlessly into the dashboard controls. This meant that whether you were cruising through the scorching heat of Arizona or the chilly winds of Canada, the cabin temperature was always exactly where you wanted it to be. Sound system, music for the open road. No luxury car is complete without the right soundtrack for the journey. In the early 1960s, AM radio was the standard. But Oldsmobile took things a step further by offering a high-fidelity signal-seeking radio with multiple speaker outputs. The push-button tuning system allowed drivers to quickly find their favorite stations, while the improved speaker placement delivered clear, rich audio throughout the cabin. Whether it was jazz, rock and roll, or a classic country tune, the sound quality was among the best of any car in its class. For those who preferred a quieter ride, the soundproofing inside the cabin was remarkable. Thick insulation materials were placed throughout the car to block out engine noise, road vibrations, and wind turbulence. This meant that even at highway speeds, conversations could be held in a calm and relaxed tone. No need to shout over a roaring engine. Storage and practicality, designed for everyday luxury. A luxury car isn't just about comfort, it's about convenience. And the 1961 Oldsmobile was designed with practicality in mind. The glove compartment wasn't just an afterthought, it was spacious and lined with soft fabric, ensuring that important documents, sunglasses, or small valuables stayed protected. The center armrest in higher trim levels doubled as a storage console, adding a level of practicality that made long trips more enjoyable. Even the door panels featured built-in pockets, providing extra space for maps, notebooks, or anything else the driver might need on the road. And let's talk about the trunk, one of the biggest in its class. With enough space to fit multiple suitcases, golf clubs, and even a week's worth of groceries, the 1961 Oldsmobile proved that luxury didn't have to come at the expense of practicality. An interior that stood the test of time, perhaps the greatest testament to the quality of the 1961 Oldsmobile's interior, is how well it has aged. Many of these cars, even decades later, still have original upholstery in remarkable condition. Unlike modern interiors that rely heavily on plastic, Oldsmobile used real metal trim, high-quality vinyl, and durable stitching techniques to ensure that the cabin remained elegant for years to come. For many owners, stepping inside a 1961 Oldsmobile today feels just as special as it did the first time. The feeling of sitting in a car built with pride, precision, and a commitment to comfort is something modern vehicles often struggle to capture. Because this wasn't just a car, it was a sanctuary on wheels. A place where the outside world faded away, leaving only the joy of the open road and the quiet luxury of fine craftsmanship. What truly defines a car's legacy isn't just its looks or comfort, it's what lies beneath the hood. Because in the 1960s, raw power wasn't just an option, it was an expectation. And Oldsmobile didn't disappoint. At a time when American highways were stretching farther and speeds were climbing higher, performance mattered. The 1961 Oldsmobile wasn't just built for style and luxury. It was engineered for smooth acceleration, effortless cruising, and the kind of power that made driving an event, not just a routine. The rocket V8, power you could feel. At the heart of the 1961 Oldsmobile was the legendary rocket V8 engine. By this point, Oldsmobile had spent more than a decade perfecting its V8 technology, and the result was one of the most refined, reliable, and powerful engines of its time. Most models were equipped with the 394 cubic inch, 6.5-liter rocket V8, a powerhouse that could produce up to 325 horsepower and 435 lv-ft of torque. For a full-size luxury car, these numbers weren't just impressive, they were best in class. The rocket V8 wasn't about brutal, neck-snapping acceleration. It was about smooth, effortless power. Press the gas, and the car responded with silky precision. No hesitation, no struggle. Whether merging onto the freeway or overtaking a slower car on a country road, the Oldsmobile delivered power with confidence and grace. For those who craved even more muscle, Oldsmobile offered a higher performance version